Good morning from Sacred Valley. So we have driven about 2.5 hours from Urubamba, and for the next couple of days we are going to be doing the Lares Trek, which is a 2 to 3 day trek through the Sacred Valley. And behind me are the mules who are going to be helping carrying tents and things like that, anything we need for our camping. I've obviously got a day bag on with a couple of supplies and camera gear, things like that. And this is a very beautiful place to start trekking. Although first, breakfast. The Lares Trek passes some very high altitudes and has some steep ascents, so a reasonable level of fitness is required. We've only been going a few minutes, but honestly the altitude is quite tough. We're about 3,800 metres here, and you can really feel it. It's quite hard to regulate your breathing, and I do think of myself as a vaguely fit person, but yeah, it's going to be a moderately tough one. Well, I might be slightly out of breath, but these views are just absolutely incredible. It makes it so worth the very out of breath climb up to these vistas. And the clouds are starting to come in on some of the mountains over there. It's often seen as an alternate hike to the Inca Trail, but it's nowhere near as busy. We only passed one other set of hikers and one young woman walking the route with her 2 horses. So we are at 4,150 metres, which is not the highest altitude we reach on this walk, but still enough to take your breath away, whether that's the altitude or the views. But I do have a little hiking tip for you. If you guys are really tired and you're in a group, I would highly recommend pretending to stop and take in the view while you catch your breath. And no one will ever know. We've come down in altitude now a little bit, but literally around every corner is a beautiful view. We're actually not that far away from the campsite now. So we have come down into a beautiful valley where our campsite is for the night, and we're surrounded by the mountains, some snow-topped ones over there, and we're ready for lunch now. I was kind of expecting camping food, but we've been served an absolute feast. This is course number 3 now. Check this out. Beautiful. I love it. The views around the valley from the campsite were amazing, with quite a few snow-topped peaks and some thick cloud cover resting on the top of the surrounding hills. This is probably the fanciest tent that I've ever stayed in. There's an actual little bed and chocolates on the pillow, that's so cute. Okay. So there were some very entrepreneurial local ladies who came over to our campsite selling a few different things, kind of hats and gloves and scarves mainly. So I've got this very fetching Cusco hat, which I'm quite into, and it is doing me a treat right now because the temperature has dropped so much. They're also selling beer as well, which was very sensible of them. They knew that we would indulge, so we've all had a couple of beers just before dinner.
Anybody want some chip? Maybe on that feet.
I did, yeah. I had to wake up a couple of times.
It is about 6:30. I had a very good sleep, and we were woken up to a bowl of hot water and some fresh coffee, which was great. Just had breakfast, and we're going to pack up our stuff, ready for another hike today. And it is looking so pretty in the valley. The cloud cover is really low, so a lot of the peaks are covered. What a nice place to wake up.
Hi, I am Edward. I work for G Adventure, and now we are in the community of Kunkani. This community is part of another project of Planet Terra. So what Planet Terra did is to make all this campsite, and nowadays travelers who do the Lares Trek need to pay an entrance, a fee to sleep in this campsite, and that's an extra income for the community. Yeah, so back in the time when travelers used to do the Lares Trek, these guys never leave any income for the community, no money in the community through tourism. Nowadays, those travelers have the chance to use properly bathrooms, properly showers, properly constructions for setting up tents, and yeah, so nowadays travelers, need to pay a fee for sleeping here.
And how much of that money stays in the community?
The whole 100% of the money stays in the community.
So we're about an hour into our hike, and we're at a much lower altitude today in the valley, which means that it's easier walking, and we've got the river alongside us, which is very peaceful, and we've been accompanied today by a couple of dogs and a handful of llamas, which is very lovely. The Lares Trek is up there in the top hikes I've ever done. Click the link in the description to find out more, and don't forget to subscribe.